Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a JoinDOTA Asia League presentation of Orange Esports versus Mineski. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and this is quite a bit of a spontaneous cast. I honestly did not know about that this game was happening at all, say 5 or 6 minutes ago, so very spontaneous to get the stream up and running with the right overlays and be ready to cast it. I won't say that this is going to be my best cast, but it's certainly going to be a great game because these are two amazing teams pitted against each other in this two-game series in the JoinDOTA Asia League. I'm really excited to see what these two teams hold. Anybody that's annoyed with the announcer, I'll change it once the game starts, but like I said, I was just trying to get all my ducks in a row as quickly as possible. If you don't recognize my voice, I'm Blaze of Dota Talk, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to Dota Talk TV 2, or in the in-game if you purchase the JoinDOTA League ticket, which I'm sure is a great value considering how many great teams are participating across the board here. Anyways, let's get on in the draft, as I have been delaying it quite enough. Looking at the initial bans, we did see Visage and Venomancer taken off the board, Clockwork and Timbersaw as well. So this opened up the Nyx and Invoker early picks from Orange, which in my opinion, I'll talk about this in a minute, but is a really powerful synergy. But in the meantime, Mineski is kind of going with some classic picks. The Alchemist and Bristleback are kind of, I wouldn't say archaic and obsolete, but they are more oriented towards the previous meta than the current one. So, looking at the follow-up bans, we did see Crystal Maiden and Rubik, just some powerful supports taken off the board. Shadow Demon and Razor were knocked out as well, and this gave an opening to the OD pick that Mineski has snagged up here. So we'll probably might still see the Invoker mid, but as I was talking about with the Orange draft here, Nyx Assassin and Invoker, picking those two up specifically enables them to go for a Wex-oriented build with Invoker that has amazing synergy with Mana Burn. Essentially, you get the EMP and the Mana Burn off, and your opponents have absolutely nothing to work with. Maybe Alchemist with Chemical Rage might be able to regenerate enough mana for one spell cast, but that's about it. So Bristleback, with his low base intelligence, is going to be completely obliterated by this EMP if he gets caught out, meaning he has to focus on mobility. He has to make sure his Warpath stacks are high and he can avoid it as much as possible. But with a good Tornado now in 6.80, it's really hard to avoid such things. I mean, the fact is it's now down to, I think, 2.6 delay on the EMP, and that's plenty of time with the amount of setup you get from the Tornado. I might be wrong on the numbers there. Of course, this is a fresh patch, a new meta, and I'm just trying to keep up with it, but I'm excited for what these changes have in store. I've been talking about it a lot, a little bit on Twitter, a lot on Reddit. I think Invoker is the prime player and the big winner of the 6.8 patch. I mean, people look at Faceless Void and see him kind of go from rags to riches as far as carry selection, but the Invoker EMP just gives him so much presence. Of course, the Exhort got nerfed. Of course, that build-up is less viable. The Sunstrike's still as potent as ever, but the Forge Spirit's no longer amazingly overpowered. But I do believe that in the right hands, such as Ysera, who already played Invoker very frequently in the previous patch set, that Invoker is a very strong pick here. So, in turn, Mineski, knowing that threat, pick up the OD. It's a great counter to a Wex Invoker, an okay one to the Exhort. I mean, obviously the Exhort orbs still provide a lot of base damage just to right-click and last hit with, but if you're dealing with a Wex Invoker, he lacks that. He usually picks up a Blades of Attack just to supplement his attack damage. So when you get an OD pitted against him, every single time you cast this Imprisonment, you're going to be draining damage over and over and over again. It's going to make it a very difficult time for him to lane. So maybe we'll see Nyx Assassin rotate in there, and Invoker go for a safe lane while they go for a Wind Ranger aggro try, or something different, because like I said, they don't really want that matchup, though they can survive it if they do have to go that way. Anyways, as I was talking about Mineski's draft a little bit, the Alchemist and Bristleback, the Alchemist, in my opinion, is no longer a first phase pick. There's no reason to prioritize him over like a Sven or one of these lovely ladies. So Rubik's not a lady, I suppose, but Crystal Maiden is an amazing support still. I mean, even with her intelligence reduction, she has so much potency in the laning phase, especially. So I think that she still is a very high prioritized support. Alchemist, not so much. His stun, you have to be very cautious about how you use it. There's a lot more risk, no more reward. And I wouldn't say, I mean, like, there's no increase in his reward for the risk that was provided, just for clarification there. But they're going to go with the Lich, which is a very powerful laner, has a lot of potential there, and if they can control the lanes with as far as the flow of experience, as well as the flow of mana towards Lich, allowing him to just continuously nuke. We're going to see some very powerful combos with the Chain Frost, with the stun lockdown, things like that.
Reserve time.
Bristleback got a little bit of a nerf as far as his attack damage, but that shouldn't be that big of a deal. Let me just double check a couple things, guys. Like I said, this was pretty spontaneous, so I just want to make sure everything is audible in-game as well. Maybe I actually did not enable the audio. Oh, look at me.
Radiance ban.
Alrighty, so yeah, there's one of the issues with going into a spontaneous cast, is that you don't exactly remember to pull all the triggers. We did not turn on our in-game audio for the ticket, and I do apologize that you guys didn't get as much commentary in the draft in that regard, for those that are watching in-game. So going back to what I was talking about a little bit, the Invoker is a very powerful pick in 6.80. He's going to be, in conjunction with Nyx Assassin, a pain in the rear for Mineski, who are going to be deprived of mana left and right. That's why they pick up heroes like the OD, who is very hard to run dry, as well the Lich with the Sacrifice. They'll always have mana at their disposal. Sacrificing a creep, using Chemical Rage, they have plenty of ways to get that back up. Bristleback's going to be the one that's hurt the most by a Wex Invoker, as he does have very low base intelligence, and he's going to have a hard time going toe-to-toe with them. But they did pick up a very smart draft with the OD. Up against the Invoker, he's going to have a good time in the laning phase, winning out on CS as a whole. But I guess I just have to say, if I'm looking at from both teams' perspectives, I have to say that Orange have the more progressive draft. If they do, in fact, opt for Ysera's Wex Invoker over Exhort, combine that with the Nyx Assassin, get some good disables and damage output, I really do think that Orange have pulled ahead in this draft. That being said, Bristleback is still an amazing hero. OD is still as powerful as ever if he's not up against a Razor, a Viper, so on and so forth. So I do think that if Mineski can make anything happen, it's going to be with their core hero pickups more than their supports. But we'll see. For right now, there's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of things in flux, and both teams are just trying to really edge the others out when as we approach some bigger tournaments like the AOC. I know Mineski is participating in. I'm not sure if Orange have confirmed that, but that is going to be coming up towards the end of the month, and that's a decent prize pool that both teams, of course, will be looking at alongside many other tournaments. So this should be a really good game, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these two teams in action here. It's been a little bit of time since I've gotten to cast Mineski, and even if I'm not sure if I consider them one of the best teams, I certainly consider them one of the most entertaining teams. They are so fun to watch, so dynamic, and so active across the map. I just can't wait to see what they get to do with this draft here. Alright, the final selection is actually pretty interesting here. Orange is going to pick up the Doom. I've seen Winter draft this quite a bit in the past, so it's not really a surprise in that regard, but as far as where they're going to put him, it looks like it's going to be a jungle Doom. I mean, Insidious C has been running jungle heroes like Chen and Enchantress day in and day out when I've cast him. Now, since Insidious kind of merged with Orange, so to speak, and Yamate left the team, I do believe that they've switched up roles a little bit here and there, but we're still seeing some classics. We're still seeing Soxes playing a #1, we're still seeing Ysera run his Invoker, and we are seeing Insidious C with a jungle-oriented hero. So it's very possible that we could just see Winter roaming around with the Nyx, supporting up and mana burning the OD, supporting Sklark on the lane, and then Sharky will just take the off lane. It makes their lanes weak because Insidious C is going to be focusing primarily on the jungle, but around the 6 or 7 minute mark, they're going to be feeling a lot stronger than their opposition, and from there, they can do some devastating damage. So, like I promised, I will switch up a couple of things here. Overlays, announcers, and HUDs, and then we can get into the game. Awesome stuff. Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in once again to the JoinDOTA Asia League. This is Game 1 of this 2-game series between Mineski and Orange. Starting things off, a formal introduction of Mineski's players. We do see, riding up on the top lane, this is going to be an off-lane Bristleback. Boots first, it's Jesse Vash. On the mid lane, we are seeing Jay pick up the lifesteal with the Stout Shield. We'll probably see some support from multiple angles. But for right now, it's going to be Oa heading towards the bottom lane with the Smoke and the Sentries, playing the Lich. This leaves Oa, I believe. Unless I'm messing up. No, that's Oa. So that's got to be Wow, it's been, like I said, it's been a while since I've cast these guys, and they always mess me up on the names. I think that's Joven on the Alchemist. So Joven, Alchemist, still running support, but a little bit less heavy in consumables. Then we do see Jules here. He's going to be running on the farming OD, and I believe it is indeed going to be farming on the safe lane. So that is presuming that the matchup of Ysera will go towards a side lane, but I don't know. In this situation, I'm not sure if they really benefit from it as much. They're going to be running a dual lane mid of Lich and Lifesteal, and I do think that's very viable. I mean, you will get Lifesteal in range for the open wounds. You will be able to put some frustration out on Ysera, but I'm not too sure if they really gain that much by not putting the OD in direct contestation of the farm. Either way, they are controlling runes very effectively if Lich roams about, picking those up for themselves. But that being said, Invoker, especially an Exhort Invoker, is not a rune-reliant hero. We do see he's already picked up that increased attack damage. It would have been great against the OD. In this case, it's just going to be okay. It's going to be in this position. He can certainly contribute a lot to the side lanes with those Sunstrikes if they do get the Pounce or Shackle Shot lockdown that they need. Now we do see already things starting off pretty strong with a couple of right clicks heading in towards Ysera. Now he did only start with 4 tangos, so it does mean that he will have to be more cautious until he gets that Quas Essence to really tank things up and regenerate. In the meantime, Joven's not going to be able to get the stun off. He was trying to play a little sneaky, but we see this Dire Ward in place is going to make it so that they can't close the distance, and Winter is going to be perfectly fine over here. Even if he didn't avoid it just by walking away, he still has a Spike Carapace and can reflect this one here. So he sees it coming, the Carapace will reflect it, and that's going to be some nice damage sent back the other way. So Winter doesn't really feel very threatened here. He's still sitting on full HP, and he just is in such a great position on this lane. Like I said, Alchemist, I do not consider him to be a tier 1 pick. I don't consider him to be a first phase material, and now him losing the clarity. He's got 1 stun left to his name. This does not look good for their potential to zone out Winter. Gonna have a quick pause come through. It looks like Astral Imprisonment is almost in range, so if they wanted to put some right click hurt on him, they certainly could, but he has that South Shield, he has that significantly above average HP regen, and I really do think that he's going to be pretty well founded in this lane. Now, forget one thing to mention is that I do have a Statsman helping me out for today, so I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation of his name. I've heard it a couple times, but Pimp Munkle is going to be providing the stats as best he can, and should be fun. So hopefully he's got some good teasers for you guys. Anyways, beyond that, we're just going to look at the CS charts and see that for right now, OD is farming very well on the safe lane as expected of Jules, playing the #1 role all day, all night. So he's going to be 9 and 8 for right now, with actually Lifestealer pulling in second. Jay is sitting at 8 and 4. So I'm kind of surprised why Xoxus doesn't really have that much going for himself. He is going to go for a little bit of aggressive play here, but they don't really have the follow through. The Sunstrike, although he doesn't even have an invoked. He's going for the Forge Cold Snap, and yeah, they really just don't have any kill potential. So we'll get a couple of free hits in here and there. Steal a little bit of Essence Shift, get the Orb of Venom damage over time, but all in all, there's nothing going to be life-threatening in the near future. Unless we look over the mid lane, that is a double damage room, but without a Shackle Shot, they really need this Cold Snap to do work, and now they're not even going to go for it. Jay in a bit of a rough patch. He could, if they did go for the Cold Snap, he'd just rage out of it, so it doesn't really... I really don't see any kills happening in the early game stages. I mean, the lowest life target is the Doom in the jungle, and I don't see anybody roaming to gank him anytime soon. We do see Joven making his move towards the mid lane here. Might be able to get a good concoction off, and that'll be nice this time for them. So he is going to be going for a flank to gank here. Does charge up the concoction. He will be able to get in range despite the cold snap, but taking a lot of damage from the tower and the Sunstrike. Maybe a return kill. The first blood goes to Ysera. The second will be claimed by the Lifestealer on the mid lane. So honestly, not too bad. A 3 versus 1 movement up against the Invoker. He still gets the first blood. He still gets that experience, and then, only then, does the Lifestealer claim him. Up on the top lane, more damage coming in the Bristleback, but he's just so darn tanky. He's actually going for a 2 points in passive buildup. We're not going to be seeing the Viscous Nasal Goo until level 8, and that means that he is as tanky as can be, even without a Stout Shield. So he's still feeling pretty good about himself, though losing some stats here and there with each Essence Chef strike. So some rune coverage coming out from the Invoker's Fort Spirits, very nicely done. Good micromanagement by Ysera, as expected, for somebody so well founded in the Invoker mid game. I mean, he just has so much experience with that hero, and although it seems like he has not really been dissuaded by the 6.8 nerfs, he still kind of has his heart in the Exhort mindset, and he's kind of trying to show us that it's still extremely viable, even with the nerfs to the Forward Spirit, even with some limitations for that build-up as a whole. But I still kind of think that Wex might be the new thing, but one way or another, Invoker is certainly a prime pick in this meta. So really not too much happening other than that 1-for-1 in the mid lane. Farming up, we do see that Slark, OD, and Lifestealer will all be finding plenty of gold, and Invoker's not doing too bad on experience either. He's found his level 5 despite being up against a Lich dual lane, which with that sacrifice can be pretty painful. All you have to do is essentially go behind the tower, maybe back here, activate the sacrifice, and not only are you gaining some for yourself as the sacrifice mechanic works, but since of course they're out of experience range, the enemy isn't gaining any either. So some good positioning makes it very easy to dominate the lane in experience. But Invoker still finding what he needs. We are seeing that he is 4th place in experience per minute, just behind Lifestealer actually. Meantime though, Winter has been doing pretty well for himself. Hit up with a couple imprisonments. He only has enough mana, and max mana for that matter, for the Carapace or Mana Burn. But all in all, he still feels pretty safe here, just based on his full HP, the fact that he has Boots of Speed, and he can tank up through a heck of a lot of damage. So he might not be able to gank as early with the Vendetta, since it does cost quite a hefty sum of mana, but all in all, he is contributing, getting a lot just by staying put on the lane. Another rune spawn will be coming through. The Fort Spirit's looking to deny bottom, but it looks like Winter's got that covered one way or another. Meanwhile, on top lane, actually a lot of damage coming the other way as they try to dive on the Bristleback. But it does look like Jesse Vash is going to go for this. Wow, very deep movement from Jesse Vash. We do see Xox's popping the ultimate. The Shadow Dance will give him the HP regen he needs, but he won't be able to lock him in place with Pounce, and is still taking quite a few stacks of those spines. So in the end, we do see that he will not be able to claim a kill, but you can't say the same about the mid lane here. Lich and Invoker trade 1-for-1. Jay now pretty much by himself up against the level 5 Doom, but he's fine in that position. Like I said, he's a pretty durable individual. He's got his phase boots up now, moving towards drums, so it's going to be really hard to pin a hero like this down. So, sorry I didn't kiss the mid lane, guys. I was checking out what was going on with the Bristleback there, but yeah, as you can see, the Ysera did drop down second, so that means he once again got some good experience out of that trade. And just because he has a spare mana, we're going to see a Sunstrike and an Impale come out onto Jules. He's just going to go ahead and drop the prison and walk away, though. Haven't really seen too much from the Alchemist, so hopefully he'll be able to accomplish something here. The smoke gank comes through. Concoction not charging yet, though. He is kind of waiting to brew up until Ysera goes down below the steps here. It is nighttime. He does have that gank opportunity, and the ping comes through, so they're looking for it. He is pretty close to his tower, though, and Ysera is probably going to be fine. He gets hit by a basic Concoction. The Rage will come across. Open Wounds, no. They're going to try to turn this around. Oh, it doesn't walk back into the Sunstrike, though, so it is going to be a 1-for-0. Very nicely done. The 2 points in Open Wounds is just sufficient alongside the Frost Blast to make it a poor decision to run away. Essentially, you're not ruptured, but you're pretty well locked in place where you just have to stand and fight. It was a good decision making from Ysera, trying to make the best situation he could, but unfortunately, Oa, a little too smart for that, won't walk right into that Sunstrike. So, bottom line is, Alchemist hasn't been getting too much, only at level 4, but he has been contributing a decent amount, finding his second assist. In the meantime, up on top lane, we do see Jesse Vash pinned down by the Shackle, but he's tanking up so much, he might be able to turn this around with the Magic Stick. Has to use it, using the spines, but nope. Xaxis will just barely survive, has those shreds to tank up just a little bit more. Along with that, of course, he gets a lot of armor from the Essence Shift, and we're going to see that come into play more and more over time. We do see an invisible Oa trying to bring down Xaxis, but he's able to pounce away at the last second, and I think he will be fine here. Going up to the high ground, he'll get the HP regen, and yeah, he will be able to get out of dodge. So, end result is 3 for 3. It is a very close game in the early game standpoint, but we do see action down on the bottom lane. They do have Doom if they need it. They will activate it just to secure the kill, and Jules will indeed fall. So Insidious C getting the most out of that jungle now that he has both Bottle and Arcane Boots to sustain his pretty greedy mana situation. It does cost a lot to spam with the spells, especially if you add in a couple of neutral abilities like the Troll Trap, the Stomp, and Tornadoes, anything like that. So you're going to see either a Soul Ring or a Bottle, and in some cases, the Arcane Boots. Along with that, what the Arcane Boots mean to me is that Insidious C is going to be looking for a very early Mechanism. Mechanism is going to be a prime factor for him, just being able to dive towers earlier, sustain against a Bristleback more significantly, and in general just contribute more to the team fight. So if you go Arcane Boots, you might as well go the Mech, unless you have a better natural carrier. We do see Xaxis is going for a gank play on G. Not sure if it's the best move, but it's what he's going to try for here. We do see the Concoction brewing. He has to pop his ulti. He doesn't go for it, though. Just now popping the Dark Pact, and that cost him a lot of HP. He is going to regenerate some of it, and now all of it as he goes in full retreat, but really didn't get too much accomplished there. Just forcing out 1 TP in the end. Interesting movement from Jay here. Really wants a kill on Ysera. Thinks he's accomplished enough to do it with the drum and phase, but unfortunately catches the creep wave. Is just going to pull it back here and get some easy farm, whether intended or not. In the meantime, we haven't seen too much from the Vendetta Strikes of Winter. He now doesn't have to worry about the shackles of this Astral Imprisonment debuff. He has his full Arcane Boots mana pool of 666, how quaint. But yeah, we still haven't seen too much movement trying to find kills across the map, so I expect him and Slark to be focusing on that in the near future, but right now it's just Xaxis trying to pin down the Alchemist, who desperately needs his ultimate. If you don't have a Chemical Rage as an Alchemist, you're feeling pretty bad about yourself. We do see his stun coming out on Jay. He wanted the double damage rune. He still might get it. He does, but he is doomed up and will definitely fall here. The Sunstrike, the damage over time, but he is going to get defensively prisoned. Too bad they don't have any healing. They'll still have to go for the deny. So, should be an easy deny here as long as they coordinate. Yeah, Lich will get it, and some rares will fly. In the meantime, while we were watching that, there was that pickoff on the bottom lane. Actually, with all these items, I actually didn't see who got the killing blow, but I presume it was just Slark with his Shadow Dance. He probably got Alchemist to stun himself, and without the Chemical Rage, there's not much he can do.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's top tower is under
so
attack.
Looking over at just overall item builds, we are going to be seeing Bristleback move in for a Mechanism and Treads himself. We are going to be seeing the Invoker, I guess. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't really have anything going for him right now. Just a Basilius on both Jules and Ysera. But no real item commitment. 1,600 gold in the bank for him. Let's just check out. I don't usually use this stat, but current gold. We do see 1,900 stocked up for Xaxis, 1,700 for Invoker. But now we see the Infest Bomb coming through. They will be able to pin him down. Even without the Viscous Nasal Goo, they just do so much physical damage. And they will be able to right-click him down. No problem at all. And that's fueling this Mechanism build-up very rapidly. So a nice pickup for him. Even without, like I said, without the VNG, which is kind of surprising. Usually by at least level 8 you'll see the Viscous Nasal Goo, only putting a second point in Bristleback. But he went for 3. He's going for a full defensive build, and it might pay off here. We'll see. Taking a lot of damage here. The stun not coming through from Winter. Doesn't have the mana for it, so he will have to get doomed. Is there going to be a supportive deny? He's going to go for it. Going to his allies. Here comes a Lich. No. 1 second too late. So, now allied hero denials. No more rares for you guys here, but nevertheless, a good movement from the Bristleback as he was trying to take the money off the board for his death. Unfortunately, he was just caught completely unawares, kind of all by himself, 1 versus 3, and of course that was a bit of a misplay without much vision. Speaking of vision, I'll keep an eye on bottom lane, but just looking at the mini-map here, we do see that the Radiant Mineski have some great coverage here. Without Chemical Rage, just hurts so much. Easy Sunstrike, easy kills. We do see some movement from Jules, but I don't think it's enough to pin down Xox. Let's see, he doesn't have Pounce, And Magic 6 is low, maybe. I mean, with the ultimate, you might be able to finish it off. He's going to try to juke in the trees, get some regen, HP regen during the Fog of War, and he should be able to juke out of this just barely. Actually walks right into the OD, and that 2 right clicks is one too many. So Jules will actually find the kill in the end. Very nicely done with that 4-staff movement. In the meantime, this does create space a little bit for the top tower to drop down pretty readily. Double Forward Spirit, great pushing potential, and at least can tank up a few shots from the tower despite the reduced armor. But it's no Lake and Wolves. It won't be able to finish the job, and we will just see kind of things go back to the status quo. But as I was talking about a little bit before that gank occurred, we do see that there is a nice little lane ward here coming from Mineski, but if we keep on seeing movement from Slark through from the bottom rune ramp, then obviously that's just going to be completely ineffective. Some duplicates from both sides of ward vision on the mid lane, making sure they don't have to worry about their Ancients camp, as well as they have stacked that up quite a bit for Jesse Vash and his Quill Sprays. And this is going to get Alchemist's level 6, which is a pretty big deal. Just providing the experience to him to get that much needed ultimate, and of course they also have the Chain Frost and now a 4th point in Frost Blast as a result. Most of the gold, however, is going to Jesse Vash. The Acid Spray just kind of helps him acquire most of those last hits, and from there he will be able to finish the mechanism. He will be able to finish up his treads as well, and now he is looking very good for himself in towards this mid game. Took a little bit of time. 14.5 minutes is not the best time mechanism I've seen on a Bristleback, but it's giving them some fighting chops now, so we'll see it come into play in a little bit. In the meantime, the graphs are showing that things are pretty even, and it's going to come down to fights from here. Soxus looking for a pick off, is going to wander into 3. Will pop off that Dark Pact immediately, though. Will the stun actually come through? About to lose his ultimate, and the Alchemist is going to stun himself once more. Unfortunately, that timer just not doing them any favors, and Jules Forstaff won't be able to find him in the end.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
So they do take the top tier 1. They get a Midas on Ysera, as well as the Forward Spirit push to bring down a nice tower. And from here, there's going to be a lot of golden experience coming towards Ysera. I think he actually just Midased a range creep, which I actually got to say is not the right decision, considering right now all you want is as much experience as possible. You want to get those levels in your Quas, in your Exhort, and sometimes in your Wex. And that's not going to be as easy an option if you're Midasing range creeps over like Centaurs and Trolls and all that good stuff. So focus the big stuff with the early Midases, guys. It's pretty important. In the meantime, we do see Jay moving rapidly towards his armlet. With just a few more last hits, he will be able to find that completed, and that's going to be a very big boon for him. He's going to give him a much needed durability in the middle of fights, and he's going to make sure that he can actually end fights before Slark gets too big. Because as we see, that's a double Midas setup for Orange. And this is kind of forcing Mineski to put out some pressure here. We do see InsidiouC going for a Blink Stomp. Haven't seen that before, but here it comes. Doom comes out on Jesse Vash. The Sunstrike will connect, and that's going to be a certain death. Though Oa might get another deny. Yes, rares will fly. Very nice denial, but good movement from InsidiouC. I mean, camping out in the tree line. I think even using some Quelling Blade to really dig a tunnel and get himself into that position there. But Blink Stomp as it may be, it's not going to actually get them a legitimate kill. Keeping away now, the stun comes out. InsidiouC will drop down. They even use the Chain Frost just to make sure the TP would be interrupted. So, unfortunately, wasting that ultimate in technicality, but it's good to make sure that you don't hold anything back. To make sure that if you need something to delay the TP, and you have that at your disposal, that you let it fly. In the meantime, it looks like it's going to be a tier 1 push from Mineski. And like I said, they need to start putting out pressure here. We do see Sharky getting hit pretty hard, but the Wind Run should be enough to speed him away. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see more hits connecting with the Orb of Venom and the Phase Boost movement advantage. But now he's in a bad spot with Outrage available, and Jay will be locked down. So, in the end, not a good trade, picking off this Wind Ranger, who right now isn't a prime player all across the map. And now we do see the pounds connecting onto Alchemist, and they just get a little bit more damage coming in from Ysera. They should be able to finish him off. Where's the Cold Snap? They don't have it, and instead they're going to see the OD drop the hammer, and Soxus will have to pounce his way out of there. So, I guess he wasn't in range for the Cold Snap, or just thought better of it. I'm not too sure, but either way, they weren't able to pin down the Alchemist, and it is a surprisingly bloodless encounter there on the mid. Now, as I was saying, the Wind Ranger isn't that big of a deal. The Nyx certainly is. Of course, he didn't lose too much gold out, as he has been spending his gold quite extensively, picking up these nice, I wouldn't say cheap items, but they certainly aren't the most expensive of the bunch. So picking up an armlet, which is only like 2,700, picking up a drums, which I don't even know how much they've raised the cost of that to now, like 1,850. So these aren't really the most expensive items to pick up on Nyx. He's just spending his items actively and early because they need his early gank presence. They need his early kill potential and fight potential, because otherwise I don't really see an out for them here. We do see damage coming in. The Sunstrike will, however, be dissipated amongst 3 different creeps, and the kill will not come forth. But like I said, they need some early fighting presence, because the big deal here is that Orange have 2 Midases. They're gaining more gold and experience than their opponents, and of course, along with the Doom's Devourer, we're going to see the gold graph just completely steamroll out of control for them. So the experience graph currently still kind of holding even, but
Radiant's middle tower has been denied.
As more towers get taken off the board, even if they are denied, it's still giving more and more for Orange to get some huge items very soon. So it's something that Mineski have to be worried about, something that they have to address, and that means putting some very aggressive pressure at. Unfortunately, the initiation just doesn't seem to be in their favor. We do see Winter picking up a Blink Dagger as the off-lane Nyx Assassin. We saw earlier Insidious C in the jungle, instead of going for that mechanism, actually opted for the Blink Dagger, and as Statman pointed out, that's a very fast Blink Dagger, way faster than we usually see on any kind of Doom. I've seen it before, but not from Insidious, as he doesn't play this hero as often, and the timing of it is just amazing. He's been really committed to this jungle. Even if he hasn't been going for Wild Wing stacking, he's still been able to get a heck of a lot of the jungle out of his ganks, and as we see, his net worth is now at 5,500, so an early blink on him and Nyx set up their initiation, and it's going to be Mineski to maybe take a few easy towers, but otherwise respond to situations more effectively, to counter gank, and to pick off heroes that are a little bit overextended. Because if they try to start a fight, they're going to find themselves completely outmaneuvered by their opposition. Now BOTs on Ysera. Wow. Smoke possibly picked up. Okay, we do see Medallion up on Alchemist, who again is pretty much completely broke. He's been trying to farm up. He did find his ultimate, but beyond that, he's still sitting on 2190. So not really getting too much for himself. But they do have a smoke in inventory if they want to make a move. But it's difficult against all these Invis heroes. We're talking, oh, Soxus actually has that Shadow Blade, which will keep him up and at him, but wasn't in a difficult position. Speaking of, Jewel's going to take a lot of damage from that Mana Burn, a huge nuke, in fact, and if it wasn't for the BKB, he'd be dead already, but force diving away, he didn't use Imprison. He will fall nevertheless, and that's a bit of an underestimation of the powerful physical right-click damage from an Exhort Invoker. So I'm kind of surprised why he turned around there. I thought it would just BKB and head on the run. In the end, though, he falls unnecessarily, in my opinion. Like I said, there was some kill potential from the Lifestealer down at bottom, but this Shadow Blade makes Slark so slippery. He not only can Shadow Dance, which gives him permanent invisibility, undispellable, but also has this one that, although it can be countered, many supports don't prefer to put resources to that. So, as it is, right now, if the Shadow Blade is active, most likely Slark is going to have that Shadow Dance passive, and that's going to allow him to stay in the fights more actively, get up to his target up close and personal, and in general, just things look really good for him. Now, this does mean he is more mana reliant. It's not like he has a CMR, actually big damage coming out, and it should be the death of the Lifestealer here. Very nicely done. In the meantime, up on top, Bristleback being locked down, committing the Doom with that Blink Dagger. They will be able to find him once again, this time with no deny. BOTing down to the bottom lane. It looks like they want to push on 2 fronts. Already getting some huge creep pressure on the mid lane, but right now committing 4 heroes down bottom.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
So, we do see some great movement out of Orange. We're going to see some counter pressure out of Mineski, though, as G charges up the stun, is looking for someone, but as I said, it's such a bad stun now. Like, it has so much potential, but we even see him he's prioritizing Acid Spray over for the counter push and for assisting the Bristleback with negative armor. Like, it's not a terrible stun, but it's certainly not what it used to be. And we're not seeing too much come out of it as a result, especially with the current movement speed disadvantage. I mean, Alchemist isn't been using his chemical rages liberally. He only is sitting on brown boots, and it's just hard for him to get in a good position for it. Anyways, right now we are going to see most likely a clash, but the smoke of the seat might run out before they even get there. Like, they're going to be looking maybe towards the Ancients. No, they're going for full Roshan, and there is currently no Forged Spirits scouting it out. Or they thought their opponents were in it. They're going to go ahead and try to sneak it themselves anyways. They were just trying to catch their opponents unawares, but now they're just going to go in, all in. And in fact, I think they will acquire it. Acid Spray Medallion makes this a pretty easy pick, even with his recent upgrade buffs. And yes, we do see it claimed OD with the Aegis. And although they did, of course, lose their bottom tier 2, they are pretty happy about what they got in its stead. Now we do see Winter coming out. He will just Vendetta on by, and now getting a good strike on a Chemical Rage Alchemist, a Sunstrike on multiple heroes. But he'll just blink away, and here comes the Shackle. Oa locked in with the Centaur. G throws out a quick stun, but will be picked off by Slark on the other end. And now Jesse Vash, all by himself, gets doomed. Not pounced, though. Cold Snap isn't there. Sarah, now they just need to nuke him down. They don't even need disables. Wow. Once they get the Doom on him, they can just throw everything they want at him with the Bristleback disabled. By that I mean the passive, not the hero. Wow. Amazing stuff coming out of Orange so far. 6.79 Alchemist was up on 54.5% win rate, but only won 40% of his games in this stream pass. But a great Infest Bomb coming out from Jules. A huge ultimate coming across, but still not enough damage to claim any more than the Doom. We do see that they hit on multiple heroes, but a Concoction TP. Not going to do much for them. Actually, they're going to look to go back in. They say, screw it, we still have such an advantage, but have to be wary, as the Sentry Ward actually did spot out Soxus, and he must have known, as the Shadow Dance regen buff wouldn't be there if he was, in fact, visible. So yeah, I just don't see the Alchemist as nearly as good of a pick as it used to be. It was picked up as the first pick that Mineski put on the table, but alongside the Bristleback, but I don't see it anymore. He's pretty valuable for his Acid Spray, but you can get out of a Vengeful Spirit or something along those lines, who needs a lot less as far as farm to really contribute. Anyways, we do see the tower being fortified up here. Jay gonna keep wailing away though, and they should be able to pick it up no problem. But on the back end, we do see big damage coming out of Oa. He won't get the Chain Frost off this fight, and this means a huge amount of damage will come from the Meteor. Jay getting stunned up by the Carapace and now doomed. He will fall as well. Jules taking a huge amount of damage and has to run for his life. Even pop the BKB. No, he doesn't get the BKB off. It means he will lose 2 lives here instead of none, obviously. Losing the Aegis here, he will pop the BKB TP. Do they have no Troll Trap? So they won't be able to get him the second time. So he will get away with just losing the Aegis the Immortal, but even so, that was not an Aegis they could afford to lose. That was the one silver lining, their one hope they were clinging to in order to pull themselves back into this mid game. But right now, Orange are just dominating across the map, 20-8. They have such a kill advantage, such a huge, immense farm advantage when you consider the Midases, the Devours, and just the general map control that allows them to farm more efficiently. They've been able to get so much more out of this game than their opponents, and it's just looking worse and worse for Mineski in this game 1. Now again, this is a 2-game series. Some call it a best of 2. And that means that we will be seeing who will be taking both games, one of each, or neither. But for right now, Mineski are certainly playing from behind. That doesn't mean they can't come back. They have quite a few good carry heroes with the Bristleback, the OD, the Lifestealer, and in technicality the Alchemist, though at a 2,700 net worth value. I don't see that happening anytime soon. So in the end, if they do get enough farm, they do get a Hex out or something like that, they can definitely pull it back, but for right now, Orange are just putting out so much pressure. I'm actually kind of surprised to see Doom pick up the Ghost Scepter here. Oh man, missing out on a kill down on bottom. We do see Ysera will trade his life for the Bristleback, but that's really about all there is to say about that one. I didn't really catch all the action, so I do apologize on that count. But yeah, as I was saying, the Doom went for a pretty interesting item build. If we look at the Ghost Scepter, think about the fact that the main threat for him right now is physical damage output from Bristleback and from Lifestealer. He didn't have the plate mail originally, which meant his armor was sitting only at 3, I believe. Yeah, the base 3 is not very strong for mitigating purposes, so the Ghost Scepter made a lot of sense at that time, and now he's just kind of gradually increasing his build until he can finish that Assault Cross or Shivas long term. Lincoln Sphere coming up on the Lifestealer. Pretty interesting pickup, considering he's been going for a lot of cheap offensive items. He wants to go for a little more of an expensive defensive one. This should nullify things like the Doom and the Shackle Shop, but you have to remember there's a lot of throwaway skills from Orange. There's quite a few skills the Invoker can throw out. They can pop it with the level question mark death coming from the Doom. They can even maybe mana burn it off, and that would be a pretty efficient use of the spell. So have to be very careful on the count of this Lifestealer about this Lincoln Sphere and how it's used, because if Orange play around it effectively, it's just some really effective stats, but it's not going to be saving his life anytime soon. Seek Sox is stalking prey, looking for Jesse Vashi, will get this pounce off, but he does have a lot of allies nearby. Will it be fast enough though? The mechanism comes out right before the Doom, but still he falls. The movement of the Alchemist just not sufficient. He needs some upgraded boots, because right now he just can't get to the right position to be at the right place at the right time. Bristleback falls once again, and that's not what you want to see on such a tanky hero. I mean, he went for a mechanism build-up first. He went for treads as well. He should be able to sustain through all of this, and yet he has died already 7 times this game. Not really at his fault, it's just how much pressure Orange are putting out and how slow to the action Mineski's team as a whole is. Now we do see Jay kind of going for some movement up here. They do have the Sentry Ward. They did see both Winter and Xoxus in the Shadow Blade, but they'll just be able to go in full retreat, and from here it's time that Jay's not farming. So this looks like a really bad situation for Mineski. I mean, Slark at a 14.6k net worth value has found himself a full Scotty on top of his Midas Treads and Shadow Blade. Invoker at 13.6k has not only picked up BOT's Midas and Force Staff, but now has completed the Scythe of Vice. I mean, from here, they can single out anybody in a fight and they'll be dead within seconds. They don't even have to commit the Doom. And from there, it looks really bad for Mineski. I mean, they might be able to get some surprise factor in with a couple of fog stuns and stuff like that, but unless a Chain Frost bounces all 10 times with this almost to be level 11 Lich, I really am not sure if there's any way that Mineski can take a full 5-on-5. And at that, I mean, that's what they're looking for. Mineski all game long has been wishing they could go for a full 5-on-5, but Orange haven't given them an opportunity. They've been going for pickups. They've been going for 3 versus 1s. They've been going for solo kills with Sox's Slark. I mean, all they've been doing this entire game is been finding openings where they have the advantage, finding little opportunities to just flank to gank and to bring the opponents down before there can be a full fight. And from there, it's more of a massacre than a legitimate hero clash. So, Lincoln's has a pretty amazing win rate on the Lifestealer. 90% as per that stat, but it isn't the most common item, as stated. I mean, it's pretty good against, like, a Bat Rider. The Flaming Lasso can help, it can be negated pretty effectively, and there's a couple other things that just instantly pick off the Lifestealer before he can really retaliate, and the Lincoln Sphere can do a lot in that regard. But here I don't see as much value in it. It literally is just to nullify the Doom, and there's like 4 other things they can cast to make sure that that's not going to be the spell that's taken out. So it's a bit of a nuisance, but Orange and any players of that caliber should be able to play around it. Either way, Lincoln Sphere is one of those items that Pinoy Dota, you just have to love it, yeah, or you have to hate it, but it is seen very frequently in that scene, and it's just a beloved item in that regard, even before it got some significant buffs. Now we do see some smoke movement here. They're going to try to pin down on Wind Ranger. She does, however, have a Force Staff, but they do get the Hex off originally, so good Hex. It probably could have technically even been an OD solo kill here, but they bring in the whole kit caboodle just to make sure, and they will be able to round it out to their 10th kill. So getting something out of nothing, that's very important for them, and they will be able to hold their tier 2 up top for sure. So as of this moment, they do seem to have a better grasp on this game, but They're still looking for more, and right now they're not getting it. Right now the Lincolns pops off. The open wounds and Force Staff have both been expended. And in the end, not too much happens, but they're trying to lock down Slark. In the end, Alchemist stuns himself, and he should be able to escape. Now the Hex comes across. Will they actually be able to pin him down here? A couple of good slows coming in. Frost Blast is what we're looking for. The Astral Imprisonment would set it up, but they're worried about their opponents. They know they're getting pushed in. They see the TPs coming out with this great, well-placed Observer Ward, and as a result, they know that it's not just a Slark you're dealing with. It's the entire orange lineup. So in the end, they do go for a very wise retreat, unfortunately missing out on a pretty important kill. Shivas and Scythe, actually just this one Scythe that we saw before. So Shivas and Basher are the more recent pickups for Orange. They also have a 3 Force Staffs to their name, so one of their heroes gets put in a bad position, they throw them right on out of there, which is very good for them. Now we do see that Slark actually, despite the Hex, gets the last hit on the tower. Now we do see him jumping back at him. Not sure about that Pounce. Must have not been oriented properly as far as his positioning, because obviously he didn't want to go back in. So unfortunately lose that hero, and that is a killing spree going to the Bristleback, but he did get the last hit on the tower, which was quite an amazing effect in itself considering what he was up against. So they will kind of go for a bit of a march towards the Roche Pit. We'll see if they can actually make anything out of it during Xox's absence here. 35 seconds in the hole, and he's not wanting to expend a buyback unless absolutely necessary. BOTs are up on Invoker. If they knew about this 100%, now with the power shot they know, but it's too late. They go for the Shackle. Nice one comes through, but the Aegis will still go to Jules in the end. So he still has a BKB on 7 seconds. He has an Aegis, he has a Scythe, and a Force. They do have some potential to start things off on their terms, but really right now they're just kind of clustering up and hoping they can get something accomplished in the short period of time that they have a numerical advantage. They got the Roche out of that power play. It was definitely a boon for them, but we'll have to see how much this Aegis is put to work in order to actually fairly assess it. Really, I'm not sure if there's too much more to cover right now. I mean, it's going to be another Lincoln Sphere pickup for Jesse Vash. They really just don't want to get doomed. That's the bottom line. We'll probably see one for Jules as well as his next major pickup. I mean, it's interesting, but it could work. It could work. Like I said, there are a lot of tools at Orange's disposal, though. Anywho, for right now, Dire aren't covering the jungle too much. Like, they're covering it with their bodies, but not their wards. So as soon as they finish farming, they're going to leave the jungle, and they're not going to have much coverage. They only just now placed this bottom rune ward, but that's not covering Roche, since that's obviously down for the count. So for that matter, they're really not getting that much out of this vision. If they had a ward here, if they could control this high ground plateau, that would be something. But for right now, I actually do think that Mineski have shored up a little bit of farming space, though of course not on their Ancients, which has been covered for the past 5 minutes. Or 6 minutes, is it? Yeah, I keep on forgetting they enhanced the ward duration, but relevant enough. We do see Jay getting picked off here. This is pretty unfortunate. Essentially, when you feel safe, when you think that you have these openings, it gives more opportunity for your opponents to strike, for your opponents to catch you unawares, and that was just a huge misplay, Jay being by himself. I mean, this is Shadowblade Xoxes we're talking about. Now going to get stunned on multiple times over. Will he get the Dark Pack? No, a triple stun coming from the Alchemist. Winter running for the hills. He will be able to Force Staff himself away, but they're still in pursuit. They want him. They certainly do. But will they get him here? It looks like that will be the case. Medallion, armor reduction, but now the fight breaks out in full. Chain Frost bouncing left and right, hitting the creeps as well. Xoxes comes back into it, but oh, big meteor coming down. Jules dropping low, doesn't get the ulti off. Lost 2 lives without a single Sanity's Eclipse, and the Bristleback falls on the eastern front. G will throw out a stun real quick onto 2. Yes, he will, but it won't be enough to get either of them out as Insidious Sieve lands an amazing War Stomp, and they go in for the jugular here. They are going in for the win. They will be able to take this tier 3 for sure. Should be at least 1, if not 2 lanes of racks, but the buybacks will come across. We do see that Jules has a buyback, so does Oa, but they're going to need to pop them within the next 10 seconds if they're really going to be able to make anything happen. But let's say a Lich does buy back. What does he accomplish? A Frost Blast, no Chain Frost, a few right clicks. It's not going to be enough to save these racks, and they know it. Now going to throw out the stun. Sox is actually going to retreat. They see all these heroes back up, and they are heading for the hills. 4 stats, pounces, and Ice Walls, oh my. But Jay will still find the courier in the end. Now getting sheeped up. Oh, great 4-stat from Jules, pulling him back up, but an even better initiation from Insidious. Blink, stomp, bam, shabam. That is going to be the game. An amazing, amazing reinitiation by Insidious. Turned things around perfectly. The 4-stat from Jules was really solid on that Hex, but it just put him in a position where he was able to be AoE down. And there we go. 1 set of racks down, 2 heroes alive. And this is going to be 2 full racks, or 4 full racks, however you want to talk about the pairs. They're not done yet. They're going to go for the top tier 3. They certainly are within their limits to do so. We'll see how if they can actually finish this here in this first game of the JoinDOTA Asia League matchup between these 2 teams. Melee Rax is certainly going to fall. The range Rax dropping low. This has got to be the last stand, but Bristleback's not even here. They're just letting it drop. They might as well pop the GG, but JoinDOTA never surrender. Even against Mega Creeps, they're going to hold the line, and they're going to wait it out until the last HP on the Ancient falls. So, yep, that's, I'm not even going to seriously commentate this one anymore. This is completely said and done. There's no way for them to come back from the Mega Creeps here. But yeah, they had a really good handle on the game until about the 20-minute mark. When those Midases came out simultaneously, they didn't really find the pickoffs and the kills they all were looking for. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but I have to blame it on this Alchemist. The fact is, he was level 4 for an extremely long period of time, and has yet to upgrade his boots, and has just never been able to get in the position he needed to make those plays happen. 7-second brew time on Concoction? Sure, go for a Concoction TP, but otherwise you have to be 100% sure of it, or it's not going to be worth it. So, I'm not saying the Alchemist player, G, who's their 6th man as far as I understand it. I accidentally called him Joven before, but he is just kind of their backup on their team. But the bottom line is, I don't blame the player, I blame the fact that they prioritize the pick. I actually don't even mind an Alchemist pick if it's like the 4th pick material and they just need to get something out there, but picking up as their number 1 prioritized hero is a mistake, and I hope that's something they rectify in the future. In the meantime, Orange is showing their awareness of new meta tactics as well as old strategies. I mean, this is very similar to the lineups that we've seen in the Malaysian Cup that we saw them play in, and many other different tournaments and games. So not too surprised to see this come in as it is. I'm actually kind of surprised how early the Doom was effective. The build-up from Insidious is nothing I've ever seen before, and maybe something that's not even hit the competitive Dota scene. I mean, we saw, what, a Blink into Ghost, into Shivas, into Heart. It's effective, it's a good combination of items, but I've never seen that particular build-up on a hero such as this. So it's very innovative by Insidious, and it certainly brings out a whole new level of potential in the hero. We do see them going in for the kill. Jay once again caught out, and that is certainly going to be the nail in the coffin. GG is called, and in a few seconds time we will see this baby pop. But good, Mineski fighting as best they could. The end result, they didn't get more than 7 kills on their carry, or at 12 kills as a whole, and Orange just trounced them in a 41-minute and 50-second game. So it was pretty close until the 25-minute mark, but they just continuously pulled ahead. Orange kept on just getting advantages on top of advantages, and in conclusion, Orange take the first game away. But it is a 2-game series here in the JoinDOTA Asia League. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will be able to jump into the next one in just a few minutes. So it was actually a really fun series and so far, and I think that if Mineski just shore up their picks a little bit and get a little bit more traction on the game with a couple of early ganks and kills, they're going to be feeling a lot more confident about this matchup. But I also got to hand it to Orange. Their new lineup, combining Insidious with Orange, taking the best of both worlds, and they are certainly showing more potential than they did with their previous lineup. So, sad to see amazing players like Yamate go, but amazing to see what's left in the wake. We'll be going into the next game in just a few minutes, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys didn't recognize my voice, I am Blaze of Dota Talk. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, either in Dota TV or Dota Talk TV 2. We will catch you guys on the next game.